When Odada was first announced, I knew this game was going to be for me. I downloaded the demo and loved it. I bought it on day one. I even did a very rare for me these days live stream to showcase the creativity and fun that you can have with this game. So rest assured, I adore this game. It is going to get high marks. And now that I've spent many hours with it, twinkling around and tinkering around at the edges of music creation, I want to kind of explain why I think this game is fantastic. Odada is a playful, tactile and creative musical toy. It's not what I would call a standard game by any way, shape or form, but it doesn't quite go as far as being a digital audio workstation where people can create absolute crazy music and release full-blown songs, for example. Instead, Odada focuses on building tiny sound loops that will continue around on a very quick cycle, depending on which creative toys are placed onto your train tracks as you drive your train from A to B to then go and record your end song. It's up to you how you play and interact with each of those toys along the way, but after you've done about 5 or 6 of them, you will then go into your final journey to then trigger all of the samples on and off on a tape recording that puts your musical samples into a 60-second little ditty that's recorded under cassette. You decorate the cassette and it goes into your library where you can pull it out and play it at a moment's notice and muck about with all of your previous songs that you've collected over time. The beauty of this is that you start out with just a few little toys to begin with, and over the first 14 to 15 cassettes that you build, you'll unlock more toys to interact with. And sometimes that's entirely new creative musical toys to muck about with, or it could be new filters and samples. For instance, it could be changing the tempo, or changing the key, or adding on a reverb that's specific to the beat of a time delay. Or it could be that you are changing when a sample starts in the process so that they don't all start uniformly. The more you unlock, the more creativity starts to bloom out like an ink pellet in a pond. It really does start to open up your brain and mind to a new, interesting and creative way of making music. And the best reference that I have for this is the Bjork Biophilia app, which I appreciate is over a decade old now. But it's one of the very few ways that takes music creation totally out of the I need to learn an instrument or feel like you have to be nimble enough to learn an instrument and have the dexterity to do so. Instead, this takes things entirely into the abstract world. So for example, it could be that you're creating a synth melody, but instead of having to think about playing the keyboard, instead you can twiddle around like knobs on a CRTV screen and you can see the wavetable shaping and shifting and hearing the jellyfish sing the melody as you go. That doesn't require dexterity and rhythm. You just get to tweak and play around and then swap out the different toys in the slot, in the sound slot. Gives you totally different sounds as you go along. It could be that you are in the landscape with the water and the grass and the beach around, and through random different sliders and filters you can turn on a little rain sound which brings a almost generative synth plinky plonk going along. Or it could be that you want to totally sculpt how that landscape looks and feels, because anything up high gives you a high note, anything down low gives you a low note. You can then also just randomize the whole lot with various different handles and cranks to pull, so that you aren't necessarily in control, but you get to see the instantaneous creativity of just letting things run rip. And that's really part of the fun of Odada. One of my favourite ones is the little weird mage choir that goes on. And again, you can put in different instruments, for example, to change their voices. But you can flick between different pages with notes on. And you can visually see what's going to transpose across in sound. But you don't need to think about this is a C, this is a D, this is a F note. It just plays out. And then you can use all of your other contraptions on your train, and you can take 3 with you on every single song that you make to then alter that. So it could be that you change it from a major to a minor key. It could be that every time you add a new note on, you can have it all clonk in at once, or you can have it like a arpeggiator that will kind of do as it goes along. Everything comes with a sunshine, sunny day bright version, or an icy reverb version, or you can suck out all of the melodic side of it and turn something percussive by doing a night version of something. And again, so many layers of interplay come into this game that it becomes a real open world for creativity that you just don't get anywhere else in music creation without having to learn music along the way. There's a couple of other games that I've got my eye on that are doing some amazing things, but this feels so approachable and simple and easy to understand that you can create something that sounds decent and well structured, whilst also feeling like you're embracing improvisation as well. It reminds me of primary school music lessons in the best possible way. There are a couple of things with Odada that I think might slightly perturb some people though, and it comes back to that point that I made about improvisation. Because everything requires you to switch loops on and off when you go into that final recording, it is incredibly difficult to have something absolutely perfect, and everything is done in just one take. And if you do something and you decide that that's what you want and then you move forward and then you get something totally random elsewhere that doesn't quite match, you can't go back. And so what I would say with this is embrace the imperfect, because you'll never quite get there. And again, Odada isn't necessarily about creating the most pristine music out there. It's about embracing the creativity of dealing with whatever comes your way and working it into the mix and exploring concoctions and things that you wouldn't necessarily think go together, and finding interesting compromises or entirely new ways of looking at sound and sound design. So this is a delightful 2 hearty thumbs up from me. Full recommend. It's an easy 10 out of 10 for me. I know I was a bit of a sucker because this ticks all of the boxes for me, because I muck about with music in my spare time and run an entire website dedicated to writing about music elsewhere. But I wasn't prepared for just how playful and easy it was to lose so much time in this game, noodling around at 4 a.m, just kind of going, look at the weirdness that I've created. Would anyone else listen to it? Probably not. But I don't care. I'm proud of what I've created, and it's going to pop into my little cassette box for future playbacks of going, didn't I do well? Odada, out now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.